Welcome to Also Consider This, the podcast where we value nuance, perspective, and knowledge so that we can all be
also clever thinkers.
I am the second most famous Alastair on the podcasting scene.
My name is Feng.
I want to talk about the last few episodes that we've put out. I think because we haven't really reviewed the things that were in the previous episode, the comments, or even some of the things that people told us about when they listened to us.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts like in general so far? What about what's happening?
I think we kind of became like a football podcast.
We only had one episode of football.
Yeah, but there was an external comment from that show. That's why it was like, wow, we attracted outside attention because most of the other comments were like friends and family kind of thing.
I thought it would be a food podcast because the top two most viewed podcast episodes were on food.
So we are like food and football.
Food and F&F.
Yeah, F&F.
Yeah. But the thing is that like I think food is universally like a thing in Singapore. I still agree with Han's comment that we are not foodies. We just like to eat, but we are not foodies.
Yeah.
We just eat safe things. And I am one of those people, and I'm very happy to say that I'm one of those people.
Yeah, but before the football thought was that we managed to have a guest on the show, like you said just now, Han. We had our friend came on the show.
Yeah.
So it was like an experimental thing. We tried to have like someone on.
Yep.
Then we did 2 episodes of Also Consume This, which I think was a format that we kind of really quite liked.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's easier to edit also.
Yeah.
I'll be quite honest, it's easy to edit. The chapters are easy to put because it's like fixed points,
It's like you, me.
Yes.
Then
TIL times 2.
Yes.
And then we're done.
Yeah.
I would say that our episodes really kick on. We have like a set way of doing things from somewhere around
6 onwards, I guess.
About 5 or 6 onwards. Yeah, because 5 is when we talk about the PHV thing.
Yeah.
The cross-border PHV thing. I think we started to get into the groove of it, and then we really kick on since 6 onwards. I think we had a more standardized format. We know what we were going to do next. And we have ideas of what we're doing. I think 7 wise, I think we also learn our lessons lah. I think it's something that we are passionate about, but there's also this overlap in terms of what we like to talk about and what we're interested in versus what people
what's the zeitgeist and what is
what people are actually really responding to. Yeah. And I think one big lesson that we learned is that talking about things that people can follow, or talk about things in a way that people can follow. Yeah. I think I would say that even I am guilty of this. Sometimes I put too much exposition in my explanations. Then it becomes very hard to follow. Yeah. Then some people may say it's mansplaining and all that kind of nonsense, but it's really just, I think just too much exposition is probably the real diagnosis of the problem.
Yeah. And I think for me was that we kind of settled into a routine, and we are able to navigate around these routines because I think you went on travel. I was away for a week or so from recording. Then we managed to navigate through all this by still managed to stick to our release schedule. So I think that was a good...
Yes.
We kind of settled into a rhythm. And then we also managed to like talk about topics that were still at least in the public understanding and in the public eye of things. So it was like not too difficult to come up with things to talk about week in, week out. So I feel we are kind of comfortable and we are getting more comfortable with talking on camera. Even though, okay, the camera is not really...
We're not staring at the lens.
Yeah, we're not staring onto the lens, but at least it... I totally get what you try to say when you say like after listening to yourself for a while, then you kind of get a bit more comfortable. Because previously when I record myself or I see playbacks of myself, I get a bit like, weirded out. But now it's like,
it's not me.
It's not me, man.
It doesn't feel and sound like me.
Yeah, but now it's like, okay, I'm like, I put it on to review what I hear and stuff like that. And then, I'm kind of okay with all these things. So it's like part and parcel of the routine really. So it's like not too bad.
Yeah. And I think on the earlier point you're talking about like coming out with topics, right? I feel that these days we are not necessarily coming out with topics also. We are sort of responding to things that are happening. And we don't just respond to things that are happening, but we also adopt a more big picture thinking sort of thing, where we zoom out and consider things beyond that microcosm of the event, right? So like the biggest one that caught our attention is that Gavin Lee is finally appointed the coach of the Singapore national team, the Lions.
Yeah, and is it any surprise to it? I think to me, it's not really lah.
I wouldn't consider it a surprise.
Yeah.
I think that what I am happy for is that he has shown results and he has been appointed for the results. What I am not as happy about, and it's nothing personal against him, I just felt that the environment under which he was appointed was a bit it felt too emotional in general. I felt that it was like, okay, at least the way the media portrayed it, it sounded like it's very emotional way of appointing a national coach. I hope not. I hope that his appointment is a platform for him to really gain that experience. As Forrest Lee explained in his press conference, it's like there's this chicken egg thing, right? Where if you don't give him the experience, how is he going to get experience to have the experience to do the job and all that? I feel that yes, that's true. I think that what I feel comforted by or feel assured by is that Coach Gavin has this, when he talks in the media, has this vibe that he is not just the big boss of the thing, that he is also a student of the game, which I think is very important. Because if you have people calling themselves the special one and all that, in our context, I don't think it's very appropriate. And I think based on what they've said, they are also there to learn things themselves. Everybody in the organization is there to learn things for themselves in the FAS, in the team setup and all that. And there have been comments of people saying that why don't you just get another foreign coach and then have Coach Gavin be the understudy again?
Yeah, I think for me was more of what sticked out to me was that there is this whole idea of continuity. I think because he did really much better than what a lot of people expected him to be. I mean, he took over Agura like I think earlier this year. Like he was only given like 3 games, right? It was supposed to take over for I think the 2 India games and then Hong Kong. So like he was not expected to take over as a full-time the coach of our national team.
Not on a permanent basis.
Yeah, not on a permanent basis. I mean, yeah, full-time still, but not on a permanent basis. So
I think secretly we also kind of understood that in our minds, we just assumed that we're not going to qualify anyway.
Yeah. So to me, it was like, okay lah, he did quite a good job. So it's like, it's kind of like a safe bet kind of thing. But to me, the more I look deeper and think further, it's also kind of what Forrest Lee, what the president of FAS kind of said also is like, if you don't give him the chance, where else can he get experience, right? I mean, it's not like he doesn't have the qualifications. He does. He's a AFC. He does have the AFC license or whatever we call it.
He has the badges.
He has the badges to do so, firstly. Then secondly is that he has the understanding of the national setup, which I think it's very important because I think the past 3 coaches since I think even before Ogura and the past 2 Japanese coaches is that I think they kind of had like a bid-in time with the squad. And the one that I felt was really quite sayang was, I think was it Yoshida or Nishigaya, the one that he kind of got a setup going, but then he had to go back home kind of thing. But at the same time, we were hearing like certain rumblings. How come one after another, we tried to go with Japanese coaches, but they can't seem to
merge into our setup. And it's not as if like the Japanese people don't can't assimilate themselves into Singaporean society. It's not. Yes, we are not the same culture of course. But the Japanese who lived here and moved here generally seem to be quite comfortable living here.
Yeah.
Right. It's not the kind of situation where Fandi goes to Holland and he has to like really struggle in the cold and things like that, right? It's quite different these days. So and in this situation, so it's like it's quite
disconcerting, like what's going on kind of thing. Yeah.
And but the thing is that like what to me really stood out is the manner in which the whole process went about. In the past, right, we ding dong a lot. So in the past, what we do, we hired since Radajko left, since Reddy left, right, we really like swung from one end to the other. We had local legends take over the game. So we had Sundram, we had Sundram Moody take over the game. We had
Fandi.
And then after that, we swung the other way and we went for Japanese coaches that were established in the Japanese system.
And in between, we actually have East German coach. Stanger was for 3 years.
Yes. So, we swung between like the international, coaches from major footballing nations. Then we swing back to locals. Then we swing back to a foreigner. And it seemed like nothing seemed to work. And the attitude was that, the CV would sort it out. Like if the person has experience, he will sort it out because Reddy had the CV.
Yeah.
Right. And then it just felt like, okay, the other thing that I felt in the past was a huge thing was that it was purely an emotional appointment.
Decision,
it means like, okay, because the FAS president can say that I found somebody who is interesting, who is strong enough, and he's gonna do it for us. And there's always this assumption that, because it feels right, it is right. And that's why I said at the start, right? It's like I felt a bit concerned by the emotional state of things when they appointed Coach Gavin, because it just felt that we finally found a Singaporean coach that can do the job, right? Let's have him, because especially his locals are more, right? Let's have him, and he understands the team and all that. And I think on the surface it can feel a little bit like that, but I feel that at the same time there's more than meets the eye. Yeah. So that's the thing about the past that still kind of haunts me as a fan of Singapore, the national team. And I hope that it's more than that. I hope that it is, really truly considered. And what I feel is great is that today, the things that the Forrest Lee era of FAS has shown is
they think deeper into things.
Yeah, they seem to look at things slightly differently. There are things that obviously as fans we can still criticize and say that there's more to be done here and there and all that. But at least there are positive steps towards it.
I think when Sundram, even like local legends were appointed, there was no fanfare towards it. Like, I mean, when Sundram was appointed, it was like, okay.
They just called a press conference. They felt that, they just assumed that Sundram Moody, a name of national legend stature, will do the job. And it's like, this guy knows us. He's one of our legends. If he can do it off the pitch, he can do it on the pitch, he can do it off the pitch.
Yeah.
And then it's like everything will fall into place and then blue skies will prevail.
Yeah, like even a foreign coach was introduced, there was like no... I don't remember anything of it.
Some people were actually quite skeptical also, because like this guy from like Eastern Europe, right? What the hell does he know about Singaporean football?
Yeah, so but this was the first time I felt there was like genuinely like FAS was trying to do something to get the local press to be involved in this whole appointment. Like last time, the press conference, like only like maybe Straits Times and CNA was there, then that's it.
Yes.
Or it could I remember when Fandi was or someone was appointed, it was just like a press release and maybe like a press conference. I don't have any memory of any of the date.
Yep.
Then that's it. But then this time around, it seems as though there is a press conference. Then he was given like the media spotlight with Straits Times. Then they started doing profile on him. Even though like in the local football fraternity, we kind of know who he is already because he was with Tampines. Before that, I mean, I only kind of got to know him through like the Yalabat podcast, where then he actually he actually introduced himself, like he worked with JSSL, then he got into the Tampines Rovers setup. Then after that, then Ogura got him into the national team setup. So we kind of know, but then the general public don't really know. So like I think there's a deliberate effort from FAS to like put him out there, and not just to put him out there, but like he doesn't look out of place in a media spotlight.
Yeah.
Like last time when some of our local players, when they are interviewed, they seem like fish out of the water kind of feeling when they are like in front of cameras or when there's a mic shoved into their face kind of thing.
Yep.
Whereas now it seems more polished, which may not necessarily be a bad thing because it just means that they are able to shape the narrative around it so that it helps the national team in some sense.
And it demonstrates that they are getting more professional.
Yeah.
You know, like the thing about I think it was Jackie, right, who was on the Jalan podcast. He's like, he just like forged a form, sign the forged form, and then they just like, okay, it's fine, you know, like in any professional organization out there in Singapore, this will not fly. I don't think even in school it will fly.
Yeah.
Right. And it sounds like the way they portray themselves is far more positive and more they are more trying to be in control. And that's great because this is a bit of a marketing talk. So in marketing talk, we talk about like owned media and non-owned media, right?
Yeah.
So owned media are things like, for example, if let's say you have a newsletter, you have a newsletter for your company, right? So it could be a new email newsletter or your own printed newsletter.
Yeah.
You know, your own website is your own media. Your email blasts are your own media. Right? They seem to be doing more of these things now than before. They also do their own productions more.
Yeah.
So they put out videos of their own stuff out there. It's yes, it's a matter of resourcing. I think the new FAS president has put in more resources of his own to make it happen.
Yeah, I think just before we came on air, like before we started recording, I told you like, there was a reel of like they showed like the road to Riyadh. Then like they had like Gavin in like a very Mikel Arteta-esque.
Yes.
The locker room, dressing room, the team talk kind of thing, which I felt was like, whoa, this is like never before we actually went into the locker room.
Yes, nobody has actually seen.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't expect an Amazon Prime documentary about our football team yet lah. But
I wouldn't be surprised if Forrest Lee bankroll and ask Amazon to do a.
Or you just do it themselves.
Yeah.
Just do it themselves. And you know, I would. And actually, it was quite eye opening because you want your. In my opinion, I would want the manager of my team, right, to be like Eddie Howe in the. Like Newcastle's Eddie Howe when he's in the public eye, right? Just calm, collected, no, not ruffled, not dragged into pointless arguments. But in the back room, you know, really, if he needs to lose his head, he needs to give it to somebody. He will give it to somebody.
Yeah.
And also making points that, you know, like get into them or, you know, be forceful and be assertive in his comments, right? In the dressing room. I think these things matter. And I think it seems to me that based on what the selection committee, when they were choosing the permanent appointment for the national coach, who turned out to be Coach Gavin, what was great is that they at least expressed thoughts that, hey, we are looking at it in a more holistic point of view. They mentioned during the press conference, they mentioned there were three main criteria. The first main criteria was that the guy has to have something along the lines of understanding of the culture and context of the team, having at least the technical knowledge to lead the team, and then the third one that he's lacking is the sort of the international experience. So 2 out of 3, frankly speaking, if you were a hiring manager for any job, if you have like 70-80% of the way of the job description matched by a newcomer as a prospect coming in with 70% of what you have, right? I think you will most probably take that person anyway. Right, and it's a very objective way of looking at it, rather than because this guy brought us there, so let's just pick him.
Yeah,
because that's what fans are. As fans, that's what we are supposed to do. Because fans are meant to be illogical, emotive and a bit illogical. But people in the board cannot be like that, lah.
Yeah, and I felt that press conference, besides calling a press conference, the additional thing that I felt was that there was reasoning and there was explanation and there's actually valid points brought up by the questioning, and also the FAS committee having to explain themselves, which was very rare because the last few times when like Ogura was appointed, I remember he was like sitting there and he has a sleepy eye look, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he just sleep down and he just like mumble to the mic for a few and then that's it. If you use it as a barometer that the average Singaporean don't really know that much and they don't really care that much, to be honest, in some sense, then at least this has broken into the national psyche where people started to care about it. The press started to cover it. And thirdly, Gavin Lee became kind of like a household name.
He's getting more well known.
Yeah.
His name, whether you agree with his appointment or not, people know who he is.
Yeah.
People have their opinion on him, right? I feel that when you talk about this point about people know who he is, right? So for let's give an example. So my dad watches football, obviously, and of course, the sad part of his life is like yours. You're Man United fans, so you all don't really get much joy these days, right? But he didn't really care about Singaporean national football. Growing up, I don't really. It's like watching the Lions, right? Is more of a me thing than a we thing because he doesn't really express much interest in watching national football, right? Even when we were winning Tiger Cups, right? He's like, yeah, right. Which is understandable. If you're not interested, you're not interested, lah, right? There's nothing wrong with that. But this time around, he has an opinion. He's like, hey, this guy looks very young. You know, like Coach Gavin is quite young. He's like 36, right?
35.
Yeah, but he's
1990. He's 3 years younger than.
He's 35. Yeah, 1990. So he's younger than us even.
Yeah.
And he's like, hey, this guy looks really young. He probably should be like he's at an age where you can say that he could be a player manager even.
Yeah.
Right. But that at least there's an opinion, like people are looking at it, you see.
Yeah. Firstly, hearing the FAS committee speaking to the media in a very, very long while, it tells me also is that the FAS is serious about fan engagement to some sense. That some of what we have been saying for a very, very long time is starting to get through to the management. Like we are saying that the fans has been saying this. We don't just put out a press release, but tell us. It's like
tell us who he is. Tell us why,
and like tell us what goes through your mind when you all are like choosing these managers. Don't just tell us that okay, our next manager is this, but why? And I think this goes to show us that there's actually a bigger picture that FS is trying to get into for the foreseeable future, which I think is a positive thing for local football.
What I enjoy most about Coach Gavin's performances so far, right, is that I like it when managers prove people wrong, and the result is even more positive. The result is spectacular. Yeah. So remember that day when we were looking at the Hong Kong match and we were 1-0 down, and our friend Mark was like, "Hey, this guy are damn boring lah. This guy, right, it's like you and I, because we listened to Gavin's podcast, right? And it was like, this guy actually sounds quite reasonable. He sounds quite
like he knows his stuff. He's not like anyhow put an 11 out and yeah.
And he's thinking. He's a thinking man. He's not just a shill, you know.
Yeah.
And he said this guy he's not
adventurous.
He's not adventurous. He's not throwing a hand on the dice, right? And then like 15-20 minutes later, he puts on Irfan. Then it's like boom, and then he's like, okay, he's lost forward. It's like, point proven, and he's proven otherwise, and he's
then Mark still had to come back and say, no lah, you see the
yeah. So I find that it's worthwhile, like you choose a coach, a manager, right, who is willing to throw a hand on the dice, right? Take a risk and go, because
and not just throw the hand recklessly, but with a calculated.
Yeah. He had something in mind when I think before the match, he had something in mind trying to hold the game on, because he also, like, you can understand the game, right? You are 40,000 plus, 47,000.
At Kai Tak, it's not an easy place.
It's not an easy place, especially for us where we barely have 5,000 people showing up for a national game.
Secondly is that he always has this idea that I think through like the Yalabat and hearing his opinions and stuff like that, you kind of see him as like live to fight another day kind of thing.
Yep.
Because it is some sense a winner takes all match, but there's also a fight another day kind of thing because there's still a final round in March. If we can get a draw at Kaita, we could still...
It will roll on.
Yeah, it will still roll on. It's not like...
it's not a strictly winner takes all kind of sense. Yeah.
So that's why he has that calculated... He has a level head on him, even though he is so some might see him as like unadventurous, like the typical Singaporean thinking.
But to be fair, it was a valid argument to say that he was unadventurous for the first 45 minutes.
Yeah lah.
Okay.
We were kind of
it's true
packed back by...
But then you had to if that was the plan all along, then I think that's fair point.
Yeah.
Right. I mean,
but that one we wouldn't know until...
Yeah. Yes, there's this point that we'll talk about since this whole situation happened. I mean, it's a happy situation, but it also, looking at internet comments, right, something sort of triggered us when we saw these things. And that is this whole argument of like the local versus foreigner thing going on. Because in the press conference, there were questions about why did you choose a local manager? I think that's a fair question to be asked. It's a fair question to ask, but at the same time, it is touching on a nerve that some people have. That is like, why must we always choose a foreigner for the job? Why must foreign talent be the thing? And they are not. There is nothing personal against like Ogura or Stanger and all that kind of thing.
Yeah,
it is just that these people try and find an opportunity to air their views against foreign talent. You know, and it's because I can understand perhaps they were passed on a job because a foreigner is a job that's meant for a foreigner in an organization that's foreign owned, right? Things like that. I think there is an undertone in Singaporean society where people feel that foreigners are taking our jobs, right? It's whether it's a valid argument or that, that's not really the point. Is that we have to recognize that this sentiment exists everywhere around the world, and it exists here as well.
Yeah.
And of course, you read the comments on any social issue,
it can be quite ugly. Yeah.
It's going to say, because this guy foreigner doesn't know how to do, or this foreigner doesn't really
really care. Yeah.
Or this foreigner is totally useless. It's just hired because of a foreigner.
Yeah.
You know, and then every argument that they make is about foreigner this, foreigner that, and it has this appointment has sort of given these people
more fuel to their argument.
I know that this is the way I'm portraying this is a very straw man argument kind of way, right? But you cannot deny that there are people out there who will use this opportunity to say that, because we hire local, you see this is what happens when you hire a local. This is what happens when you choose a Singaporean, because a Singaporean knows Singaporean culture and Singaporean everything. So Singaporean best. Right, so all these foreigners, right, from countries starting with letters C and I, right, you all don't need to hire them, man. These are just a waste of time. You know, you don't need this this Japanese guy or this Korean guy or this German guy. Just hire Singaporean, and they will use this to expand their argument. Yeah, and I feel that there's something to be looked at, because this is the case of how Coach Gavin was appointed does sort of give us some insight into how, and some opinions into how you choose someone for the job, how you appoint someone for a job, and especially for something that is like of some level of importance, right? The national coach job is a job of importance.
Yeah.
Because whether you choose a local or a foreigner, the person ultimately has the mic in the press conference, and he has the representation. He is the representation of the country in this context.
Yeah.
Right? Like even like Coach Reddy, even though he was never a Singaporean, he's lived here for so many years, and when he went out, he put out an image of Singapore when he opened his mouth.
Yeah.
Right? And I think he did a good job, and we love him for it.
Yeah.
Right?
And I think for me, this whole appointment and this whole argument between local versus foreigner, it kind of reminded me when Sven-Göran Eriksson was appointed England manager. Because for the England job, it was a bit different when Sven-Göran Eriksson was appointed because he was the first ever foreigner, because England never had a foreign and because they are like we are the home of the game, we created football. That's the narrative that's been going for them, right?
Ultimately, they are a major footballing nation, regardless.
So then to them was that there's sort of like a pride going about that we never had a foreign coach. To kind of bow to a foreign coach seems to be like we are, but at that same time, the FA in England actually came out and rationalized, say that he's the best man for the job. We have analyzed his CV, and then we find that it is the right time, as the game gets more globalized, it's the right time to commit to a different setup, that we can no longer say that, we will only hire English men for the national team job. Which I think also kind of applied today when they appointed Tuchel. Like, how can a German take over the England job? Is like your perceived rival in international football becomes like your national team coach, right?
Yep.
Which kind of, if you flip it on its head, the Singapore thing is that local people cannot take the local job, the national team coach one, because like CMI, we cannot make it in football. Then why you give it to a local? Shouldn't a foreigner kind of like take the job because they know better, they better educated. But to me, was firstly what kind of made me and won me over was that firstly it is not just that his appointment is a reward for his good performance over the past 3 games.
Mm-hmm.
It was because he understood the nature of the job. He understood the stature of the job, and he understood the challenges of the job.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just like, local football, I need to do this, but he also has this I think you also said it yourself just now about there's this stoic side to him when he faces the media. Like, he understood the reality of the job, but yet at the same time he doesn't kind of like am overwhelmed by it, but he just matter of factly. So because of that, he's able to, as a Singaporean, he's able to speak to the fans and address the nation well in this sense.
Mm-hmm.
That because when we heard Ogura or the past two other national team coaches speak, it feels as though there's still kind of like a distance between us and him, the coaching setup.
And it got confrontational at times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, y'all don't understand. Y'all like, I need y'all to come out to support. Whereas like Gavin was like, thanks for supporting us. Like, there is this rapport that he's trying to build because he is a local.
Yes, and on that point, right, about this confrontation, this tension, right, I think this tension is also reflective of the tensions that day-to-day local Singaporeans, when they are at their professional work environment, they feel that as well. And I think we also need to appreciate this feeling that people have. Because it's not uncommon to say that, this Angmo boss lah, or this foreign boss doesn't get what we're trying to do here. Or this foreigner doesn't understand what our context is, our culture is, right? And it becomes very confrontational. Then it becomes all this like you versus me, I draw a line, kind of thing. And I think it is a reflection of things. And football has always, at least to me, football has always reflected life in various ways. And I think the points are still valid in the sense that, hey, you choose a Singaporean, and it's, in this case, as shown, right, it's actually on a balance of things.
Yeah.
And the balance of things is that this guy can speak the language, he can understand the body language or the vibes of the team because he is from the fraternity, actually. he's been a coach for so long, right? He's been a player, then a coach. He's been in that system for so long, and that has come to the fore. And what I feel is necessary now is that, okay, there is something lacking. Just like any PMAT in Singapore has skills and experience deficit, right? Then okay lah, then you have to make it up.
Yeah.
You got to make it up. You got to hopefully you go open up his eyes to and arms to opportunities from elsewhere. There's definitely I cannot imagine there's no conversation between FAS and Burnley at the moment, right? There must be conversations with teams in Europe and all that to have him, have exposure to these environments.
Yeah.
He has a wish list,
Yeah.
and if the organization is willing to back him with the resources to make it happen, then let's give it a go. If let's play this imaginary game, right, where we didn't pick Coach Gavin. We chose Fabio Cannavaro. Right? That was one of the names. Touted, right? In the past,
and the Spurs, Nick Montgomery, was it? Yeah.
Yeah. So I said, okay, that's because the most well-known name is
Cannavaro,
right? Guy, Italian captain, lifted the World Cup for Italy, right? If Fabio Cannavaro came in, he would have been a very attractive name to bring in.
Yeah.
Right? And the thing is that, okay, he obviously has the technical knowledge of the game. He has experience in the game at a high level. But obviously, he's not strong in the local suit. Yeah. Then I think it's a matter of, if he really came in to be the manager of the national team, right? Then I would say that it's actually he needs to also come in. This person would need to come in with the mindset that, okay, what I'm lacking is actually the local context and culture and all that. The background of all the players vary vastly, right? There are players who would really need, like, for example, there'll be players like in the past, like Noor Alam Shah, right, needs to borrow money to pay for bail for a relative,
brother,
right? And then there will be people who are like the fundies, right? They don't need that kind of thing because they have a relatively wealthier family.
They have a good support system for them,
from a family, they are in a more well-off family, right? Then okay, if that's the case, then then the manager needs to learn about the team and all. Then I think he needs to show a willingness to learn about the culture, to learn about the psyche of the players and all that. Then I don't think there's an absolute answer as to should we have picked a foreign national to be our manager or Coach Gavin to be our national manager.
Yeah.
In this context, the local is probably the best option. I feel, in my opinion, the local is probably the best option. Because the development roadmap for this professional is mapped. In the sense that, okay, I don't have the international experience, then FAS would send him to get international experience. And the great thing about it now is that because we have qualified for a major international tournament,
he's gonna get that.
Because it's like, why are you sending this guy over? Oh, because our country qualified for the Asian Cup and we need our national manager to have a better understanding of the game, to have more exposure. Then of course, it's a better way to knock on the door of like a Borussia Dortmund, right?
Yeah.
Than to say, because we just try to be better,
Yeah, and even if it improve our setup, there was no tangible outlets for this knowledge gain to be applied.
Yeah.
Whereas now there's really, like what you said, there's an actual tournament that we're preparing for.
Mm-hmm.
That's one. And secondly, for me, it's beyond just the knowledge and the expertise that he can potentially gain. And also, to zoom out in the bigger context of hiring a manager, is also that we must also understand that the nature of leading players have changed.
Mm-hmm.
I think we have also seen it in Premier League and the greater game.
For a start, the hairdryer treatment doesn't work anymore.
Yes, exactly. So it's like you are leading a new generation of players who grew up in a very different context, which then begs to the question that you need to hire someone who is closer to their age, right? You can't hire a 50 or 60 plus year old.
Even if you did, that person needs to understand what is going on.
Correct.
And adapt to it.
Then if you then look at your talent pool of like people that you can attract and people who are willing to come and resettle here in Singapore to take over as national team coach, then who are you left with? So I think then if you whittle down the talent pool, is that people who are younger, and if let's say it's a foreign coach, how many in their 40s or their early 50s are willing to relocate here and be a national team coach? Because a national team coach isn't a very typical day in, day out job, actually.
I tell you, right, there'll be a lot. Here's my conjecture. There'll be a lot willing to do it because they come to a nice warm environment and they can go and pao zabo. They can go and find their Thai women and their Indonesian, Balinese women. There will be bound to be some of these people around also. Right? But of course, then that begs the question. Their minds and their hearts have to be in the right place.
Correct.
Right? You have to be there to do a professional job.
Because
even Sven Eriksson himself was also a bit of a womanizer. So it's not I mean, rest in peace, but he also had his history of women, right? So it's like, does the manager have his heart in the right place? Does he really want to put his mind into it, right? And really adopt this land, right, as his next own. As his own, as a job.
Because when Reddy took over, if you talk about our last successful, in terms of trophies, a successful foreign coach, is that Reddy didn't came in as just a national team coach.
Mm-hmm.
He came in and kind of, I wouldn't say revolutionized, but kind of modernized a little bit of our national team setup. Whereas like the players became more professional. It isn't just like the kampong kind of like, oh, we just call people out and we play a game. But like there was like the national team meetings and stuff like that. Like you professionalize the setup and you professionalize how the team works.
Yes.
And basically a national team coach, even though you're called to just coach the senior men's team, our professional style is still very nascent.
Mm-hmm.
You really need someone who is able to come in, and if you really want to hire someone, the person has to be willing to shake things up, or he has to be a pioneer in some sense.
Which is what would happen if it was any other PMAT job that hired a foreigner.
Yeah.
Like that hire a foreigner in a leading position.
Yeah.
Let's not talk about somebody just doing another player lah. Okay, let's not talk about like are we hiring another Agu Kashmir lah.
Yeah.
Right. We're talking about if let's say we're hiring somebody who's coming in for a leadership position. Because then in that situation there will be a lot of jealousy also, right? Why can't the Singaporean take over this leadership role, right? Then of course in that case, okay, then the person has to really, like a local, he also needs to put in something different to build. Ultimately, the proof of the pudding is in eating it, right? And Gavin has shown in the eating of the pudding that he has
proven himself in at least the past.
Not by just winning the games. Not by just winning the games, but
the interviews of the players where you hear them speak and they speak well of him. Not just like because he's our national coach.
But I want to play a devil's advocate. I feel that what you are saying, all these things, right, about what Coach Gavin has done instilling the spirit and the culture of the national side, right? Why can't you just choose a foreigner also? In fact, if you choose a foreigner to do it, right? If you choose a foreigner to do it,
he may have more expertise.
He could have done the same thing plus have the experience. Then what would you say about that?
I'm not saying that a foreigner can't do it, but rather I'm saying that I choose and I want to believe that whatever the shortlist, because we do not know the full shortlist, that
as it should lah. We don't need to tell everybody.
I think I trust that through the full shortlist, that I think after reviewing and after seeing the results on the page, like the proof of the pudding is that I think we have chosen the best man for the job for now. I mean, we can't say like, oh, we should, like, if let's say after the Asian Cup campaign, then we were like, oh, we should have chosen the kind of, I mean, we not to use like hindsight kind of thing. But at least for the foreseeable future, at least for whatever facts and figures that we know, and to the best of our of the ability, I think the committee have chosen the best man for the job for now.
I would also tend to agree on that. I think it's also along the lines of he is the best option available to us.
Yeah.
Because come on, if you talk about drawing parallels with that, the professional job hiring world, the PMAC world again, right? For start, I believe that the national coach job is a PMAC level job. For sure. It's got a lot of complexity that many of us cannot understand or even comprehend. Back to that point, right? I feel that yes, you choose who is best available in this situation. You may be able to find a Premier League manager who just lost his job, and you like let's talk about a Premier League manager who's just lost his job. Let's assume that Big Ange is available. Right,
he knows this area because he was in the Asian game before.
He's Australian, so he's definitely not gonna be too detached from he's not gonna be too different for him to come in. Let's say we really threw the money at here and he's willing and he took the job, right? Would Big Ange do a job that is potentially better than Coach Gavin?
Hard to say.
Because this is the foreign versus local argument we're going for, right? That foreign talent is the bee's knees, and it will solve all our problems. That's what some people will say.
Yeah.
We would have a much better life if the foreign talent comes in. He comes in and brings in all his foreign things that we don't have because we are not as developed as we think we are. And he will do the job and you all sunshine and rainbows. Is that going to really be the case?
Personality, while it is nice to have,
and Big Ange has big personality, by the way,
it is not the be all and end all, and it is not actually a very big requirement for the job. Because, like we said previously, we need someone who is willing to build.
Okay, then let's take Big Ange as an example, right? He has put in an effort in the past to show that he's willing to build. I mean, Spurs has changed drastically since he's come in.
Celtic, you say Celtic and stuff like that.
Yeah, right. Although he may not have shown the results, and the board of Spurs may have decided not to keep him because of certain things. He's willing to do something different, right? Like he went to Nottingham Forest, even though they play in such a different way from what he's used to, he was willing to go in and build also, right? You can argue that, right? So, and the Celtic job in the past. So he is shown to build. So why don't you just take him also?
The Asian Cup campaign is how long away? It is a year away. If you really strictly speaking, it's a year away.
Yep.
If you hire a foreign name, for example, he relocates here. How long is... And take into account the international window is not a lot. Now there's only 4 windows a year?
I think 3.
3 or 4, right? You have 3 windows before the next Asian Cup. The SPL campaign also isn't very long. Let's say you want to watch your top talents. A lot of the Fandi brothers are playing, not in Singapore, they're playing the Thai League. And quite a number of our players play either in the Thai League or in the Indo League, right?
Because that's where the money is nowadays.
Yeah. So, how long are you going to take to get someone who is foreign and being able to resettle here, get an understanding of the players, and then
be willing to fly Air Asia all over the place to go and look at all these guys?
Correct.
Yeah.
And then we also expect him to build the setup and then be able to work with our existing people who are in FAS. And in such a short time while also preparing for the Asian Cup campaign. So that's why I feel it's not just the brand name, it's not just the experience, but it's also the path ahead. It's not as straightforward as what we think it is. It's like
to summarize, what I'm getting from you and in summary, what you're trying to say here is really all about the context.
Yeah.
It's really about the whole situation, looking at the challenge and the problems holistically, and picking someone who is available and willing, and who's available and willing to do that job. And for whatever he is able to do, we optimize. And whatever he needs support in, we support.
Yeah.
And I think the reason why I'm happy with this appointment is that the plan is there. The bigger plan is there, which is why I think when we talk about hiring or choosing individuals, right, the nationality is not really the main important thing. Regardless of the context, in terms of like football or even your professional environment, right? I don't think that's really the problem. I think the problem is that, are we choosing the right people to do the things right and supporting them in a way so that they can get things done and have a highest possible broad chance of success?
Because if let's say we introduce, let's say Gavin Lee was not earmarked for the job, and we got, let's say, Big Ange. Let's say Big Ange, hypothetical. He came in and he says, I'm willing to do this. He lays out his plans through the press conference or through the things that he has shown. I will also still back him, as, it's our maiden Asian Cup campaign.
But this is the emotive side of football, you see. What I'm trying to go, what bigger picture that I'm trying to push us towards, right, is the context of how do you choose a local and a foreigner, right? Because that's the main point of conversation, right? This segment, right? It's because we want to choose somebody who can get the job done. And then, of course, the organization has to back the person. And of course, the way they back the person is different depending on who it is sitting there.
Yeah.
Right. So if you chose Big Ange, for example, and he was willing to do the job, then the technical side of things, actually, you may probably be sorted already.
Yeah.
But then in terms of like how to talk to the team, getting the psyche on,
then we may need to have some middleman. Yeah.
You may need assistant managers to get the job done and all that, right? So the thing is that perhaps from outside looking in, perhaps choosing Coach Gavin is the better choice because you don't have to hire another 2 or 3 extra assistant managers to feel the team, to get the vibe of the team.
And what do you call it? And those funds can be freed up for other things that...
Yeah, exactly. So it's really choosing, like, what do we mean by choosing the best man for the job? Because sometimes people will say that choosing the best man for the job, right?
It's just ability.
Yeah, especially we hire foreigners, right? You talk about ability. Oh, this guy did this thing in the
CV very...
Yeah, this guy did this thing in the Japanese market. This guy, and then after he did this in the Middle Eastern market, and then he's done it in the Australian market. Now he comes to Singapore, right? Surefire, sure gonna work. And it's not just about football.
Yeah,
it's not just about
business.
Football. It's like some jobs, yes, but some things, the challenges are different. The context is different.
Because there are more intangibles in certain jobs compared to others.
Yeah, and I feel that it is important to sort of look at the situation and be to give the benefit of the doubt, look at the situation and say that, okay, what does this person bring to the table, and what he's not able or lacking or like less capable in bringing to the table, let's support in other ways, because we're just trying to make it work for our local football. And I think you have seen it time and again in your professional life, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes sometimes you will have seen people say, why this Cao Ang Mo do this job? I can do it better.
Mm-hmm.
In some situations, yes.
Yeah.
In some situations, yes.
I mean, we hear anecdotal evidence from friends and stuff like that, yeah.
Yeah. But in other situations, sometimes you also have to consider that maybe they really have seen something different from you.
Yeah. And
if they can prove that they are working in a way that has shown that they can see something different from you, then I think let's learn from it and respect the person also.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but ultimately, I think in conclusion, we kind of went round in circles on this point that Coach Gavin was chosen because of his rapport with the team, his understanding of the national setup as a whole. He is lacking the international experience, just like any Singaporean
Manager,
professional,
actually.
just like any Singaporean professional going into an important job in a different context, in the corporate context or industrial context. But as a whole, then there's a plan to get him up to speed. And now is on top of the difference between the national coaching job and your industrial environment is that this is emotive, it is football. We all care about it in different degrees. And as fans, let's support him.
Yeah.
Right? Let's support him. That is for first time in a long time, we have some positivity.
Yeah.
And let's really give him our support. And if you are able to fly to Saudi Arabia, great lah. But if not, hey, there are still 3 international windows. There are still matches to watch. Right?
And let's turn up for the team lah.
Yeah, let's turn up for the team lah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, before we go on to Today I Learned, right, I got a hot take.
Yes.
Now, this is a bonus segment. I got a hot take. Singapore national football team, right, should not play in National Stadium.
I think we kind of spoke about that in
the Singapore national football team should never play in National Stadium.
Yeah.
Until conditions are met. Why do I say so? Because national football team, right, every time we go to the National Stadium, right, is empty. And it's not the FAS's fault.
It's our fans' fault?
Yes. If the national team, if not enough people are showing up for the national team at Jalan Besar in the first place,
why should we even go to a bigger...
Yes. And we shouldn't just go to National Stadium just because we are playing like Japan or South Korea.
Yeah.
We should not. We should, right, in my opinion, right, we should just stick to Jalan Besar. Right? If fans are complaining, if people are complaining, right, that, because we're playing South Korea, you're expecting more people to come, why don't you go to Kallang, right? I would say no. If you really want to watch the national team play, regardless of who they play, right, you show up at Jalan Besar on the cold Tuesday night. On a rainy Tuesday night, right, when we are playing like Timor-Leste, right?
Or Maldives.
Or the Maldives, right? When it's pouring down in rain, right, and it's very inconvenient to go to Jalan Besar, right? And you show up, right? When Japan or South Korea come and play, you have the right to sit there. That's my opinion.
You have priority to buy a ticket.
Yes, because that's how club football works in Europe. What?
Yeah.
If it's because
you ballot not just for the you still have to take the FA Cup.
Correct. So
third round games against like lower league teams.
If you are okay, let's say like for Newcastle fans, right? If you want to watch the Champions League match against Benfica, right? Season ticket holders who get the priority, right? And who are season ticket holders? Season ticket holders, right, especially in today's context, right, were mostly season ticket holders when we were under the shitty leadership, under shitty ownership of the Mike Ashley days, right? Those season ticket holders naturally continued to be season ticket holders today, and they have priority and the right to stay there. Because when the club was taken over, a lot of people wanted to get season tickets again. But it's like, hey, come on, where were you when we were in the dumps?
So in some sense, we are advocating for FAS to set up like a loyal fans club kind
because
of thing.
Not for the sake of it,
yeah,
but because the atmosphere in the ground matters more than anything else for fans.
Especially when we are down and we really need it. The fans need to turn
out. We have boring international games where like the manager is testing out the team, right? And you're not necessarily going to win the game, right? Because come on, international friendlies are for you to test system.
Yeah.
And even Gareth Southgate doesn't win his international friendlies because he's testing players out, right?
Yeah.
Then the thing is that what matters as a fan is that the atmosphere needs to be strong.
Yeah.
You don't want to go into a church, right, where less than half the people are not worshippers and are just observers.
Yeah, to some sense, I kind of get what I mean. Yeah, I get what you mean.
You don't want to go right into a concert, right, where half the people are really blinkies and then the other half, right, are just there to watch the blinkies.
Yeah, I totally get what you mean, because especially I think it's our national team. We don't want people to go there and boo our boys. We need people there to support the team.
I tell you what's worse than people who show up to boo our boys. People who show up and just keep quiet. Seriously. I don't want to have a national stadium, right, where 40,000 people, no, we have 60,000 seats, only 8,000. Yeah, okay, 55,000 seats, only 8,000 people show up. And then because the stadium is so big, it seems so quiet. We have seen, if you watch, let's not talk about Kaita. Talk about small community grounds in like England or wherever, right?
Gateshead, I remember when we went to Newcastle.
Or even if you go to smaller stadium, it doesn't mean that having a smaller stadium does not mean that the ground is not rocking, you know.
And it's not that Singaporeans cannot turn up, because when we were in the MSL, when we were in the Super League, when Lions 12 was still around, we filled up Jalan Besar every single week.
Yeah. Like now, okay, Jalan Besar, I just Googled. Jalan Besar Stadium, right, has, before I go into that, 8,000 people showed up for the Hong Kong match in Singapore. I would rather have 6,000 hardcore ones in Jalan Besar because that's the capacity of Jalan Besar Stadium. 6,000 rocking fans in Jalan Besar Stadium, right, beats 8,000 quiet or 8,000 fans, right, rocking in a very half-empty stadium, in a not even half-empty stadium, in a very like 10% full stadium, right? I think it's not necessary. And furthermore, the National Stadium having more activities and events running around, I think it's better, even better, that you don't have to worry about whether the national team has the priority or no priority, right? Just stick to Jalan Besar Stadium. Until the day, right, we can justify having even for 20,000, a waiting list of 20,000 people wanting to watch a football match, right? Then maybe reconsider whether we should go to Kallang after that. Because the atmosphere is important. It is not about the number of people inside there. It's how full the ground is.
And I would go one step ahead and say another thing, which is Jalan Besar is a purpose-built stadium for football, actually. Because the National Stadium is actually a track and field. There's a track and field track.
It's a multi-purpose stadium.
Yeah. And because Jalan Besar is a purpose-built stadium for football, even though, yes, the layout is a bit weird, but at least we are closer to the action, and
there's no point abusing the referee if the referee cannot hear it. There's no point abusing your opponent if your opponent cannot hear it also. Then of course, I'm not saying that you should be nasty to people, but the thing is that football, as part of football, is having the emotion and the aggressiveness thrown onto the pitch by the people on the side, right? Then let's have a tighter space and all that so that we can have more of these good. We want to have memorable rocking days in Jalan Besar than to have quiet sit downs in the classroom in the Kallang Stadium.
Yeah. And actually, another thing that I kind of just looked up is that actually there is another big thing coming up before our Asian Cup campaign, which is there's a Suzuki Cup.
I thought it's after.
It's before. It's 24 July to 26 August next year. So I think that's also something to look forward to for our national team.
Okay, time to... So basically, let's be negative. We will lose the Suzuki Cup in 2 matches. We'll be out of the tournament and then we'll look for a new manager, okay?
The very typical...
the very typical gallows humor.
Yeah, and... Yeah, so let's back Coach Gavin Lee.
Yes.
As we look forward to our maiden Asian Cup campaign. So
yeah, let's back the boys and we'll see what happens next when we go to Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
Okay, before we end our podcast on the Euro segment, I would like to do the shameless plug. Please follow us on Spotify if you're listening to us on Spotify. Okay? Spotify basically shamed me when I uploaded the last episode. It says that you only have 5 followers on Spotify, but the number of listens that you have, right, you're supposed to have 60 followers. I don't know how they can come up with this stupid number, but please, it's getting a bit embarrassing for me when Spotify tells you got not enough followers. So please do me a favor. If you're on Spotify, please follow us. Yeah. If you're on YouTube, I need your support in terms of the subscribers. We need subscribers because when we look for people to join us, having a subscriber count is a vanity metric that matters to people. Can you imagine if somebody asked you to join a party where only got 5 other people? Right? So it's also harder to ask people to join our podcast, right? When I only got 15 subscribers. As much as I really appreciate all 15 of you, I really appreciate your presence. No matter how fleeting it is, right? I really thank you for giving us a bit of your time.
Yeah.
Right. So please hit the subscribe button. Right. Some people may have realized that sometimes even I myself make this mistake. I watch a lot of content from this one guy, but I actually never subscribe. So just do me a favor, just check and see if it says subscribed. All right. And thank you for following us. Thank you for supporting us.
Yes. So let's move on to our usual closing segment.
Yes.
So what have you learned?
So recently I learned something a bit more technical because as a podcast that has video, we use our cameras, right? Yeah. And then these cameras, right, actually are bloody expensive if you think about it. Because each of our cameras, when we bought them, right, cost as much as a smartphone. More or less.
More or less, yeah.
But a smartphone does a lot more things
than just being a camera.
Yeah, and it distracts us a lot more than a camera can.
Yeah.
But then we bought, so what we are running on, right? We are running on A6400s.
Yeah.
So these are what we call APS-C sensors. These are sensors that are
1.5.
Basically, it's slightly smaller than
smaller. Yeah.
A bit smaller than what a film camera, the size of film. Okay, so just film is what we call 35 millimeter, 35 mm. These sensors are a bit smaller than that, but you can also buy cameras that have a full frame sensor, which is the same size as a film.
Yeah.
Now, of course, these cost a lot more. These can cost double sometimes, depending on what you're comparing against.
I think a like for like, ours will be, if let's say you get a full frame equivalent of what we are using right now, the most entry level is, I think, just the body is like 3,000
or 2,000 plus. Or 2,000 plus.
3,000 that's
depending on where you're looking and whether it's new or not.
Yeah.
And of course, there's another level above that, which is medium format, which is like in the tens of thousands.
Yeah.
Right? So then you wonder, like, well, why does it cost so much more? And why do these things cost so much? So now so recently I've bumped into this video on YouTube, right? That talks about why these cameras cost so much.
Yep.
And the first thing that the most important one that I want to highlight today is that it's about how camera sensors come up, the sensors in the camera come about. So basically, camera sensors are silicon chips. They are silicon
CMOS lah, basically.
Yes, all these silicon chips are similar to when you make
microchips. Yeah.
Broadly speaking, in a very simplified way, it's similar to how you would make a computer processor chip.
Yeah.
Okay. Now it's just like saying that baking a pie is like baking a cake. These are not the same thing. But broadly speaking,
it's still baking.
It's still baking. Okay. Yeah. So that's as simple as it gets for us to explain it.
Yeah.
So what happens is when you fabricate a piece of a wafer,
yep,
then in this case you're fabricating a giant block of all these silicon sensors.
Yeah.
And then if you have a smaller sensor, like what we call APS-C sensors, you can make a lot more pieces. You can cut
one piece. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like cutting more pieces of kueh lapis from a square.
Yeah.
Right? Whereas if let's say you made a full frame sensor, you got to cut bigger pieces out of the same square.
Yep.
Right? To add to that, not everything, when it's like when you bake a cake, right? There's always edges, right?
Yeah.
Like you bake like a loaf of bread, there's always the edges that nobody wants to eat, right?
Yeah.
So there's imperfections, there are pieces that don't come out right. So there's wastage. So when you have an APS-C sensor, there's one big piece, you cut small pieces out, the failure rate is lower because you can cut out the imperfections more easily. It weighs a lot less, and you can have more pieces also. So the price of that drastically reduces.
Yep.
Whereas if you chose a full frame camera, the sensor size is bigger, and therefore, for start, there are fewer people paying for that piece, that overall piece.
Yeah.
And then when there's wastage,
there's more wastage.
There's more wastage.
It has to be written off lah.
Yes, there's more to be written off. So this is the biggest cost. I think this is one of the biggest cost drivers for that differentiate between a full frame camera, medium format camera, and APS-C. Now, there's a link to the video in the description, right? And there'll be more things inside there that talks about how some cameras have weather sealing, some have magnesium frames, how how some cameras are hardier than other cameras and things like that. And also the development cost of all these cameras. These are also other things that drive up the cost.
R&D and stuff like that.
Yes. It's not just the piece of plastic and metal that you're holding in your hands. It's also the work that was done to create this final product. So have a look at it and see. At least if you want to justify the cost of something, you know what you're paying for it lah.
Yeah. So to me is that what I've learned is that why pencils, right? So since young, we always call the graphite inside we call it lead.
Yes.
But actually, it's not even the element lead. So why is it actually called lead?
Well, I can't even blame my pencil for me being stupid.
Yeah. So why is
the reason why we say that is because lead does damage your
poisoning,
brains.
There's
jokes are no longer funny when you have to explain them. But But I think it's important to know that lead can be very
lead
harmful.
Poisoning causes cognitive problems actually. Yeah. So so actually, graphite is not new. I mean, since ancient time, people has known about graphite. But the idea was that but when graphite was first used, then so when you brush graphite on a piece of paper, it leaves a dark mark, which is why it can be used as a drawing material, right? So I think during that time in the 1500s when we first started doing that, then because graphite is dark colored, it's black in color, and it's a bit shiny black, right? So it looks a lot like the lead metal. If you've seen a lead weight, it kind of looks similar from far. That's when the misnomer started happening. Then only later, when certain techniques started developing, like we can analyze elements and stuff like that, then we like chemists started to realize that, the graphite is not part of the lead metal, but it's actually a different form of carbon.
Mm-hmm.
But then because, when you first started naming certain things and then everybody started calling it lead, then the name kind of stuck.
So it's like how people call a liquid a gas. Like how people call a liquid petrol gas.
Gasoline, but that's only in the United States though. Yeah. So so even when the science caught up with the knowledge and stuff like that, the common knowledge, but then lead stuck. So then that's why pencils using graphite is still called lead.
Interesting.
But fun fact, another thing is that graphite came from the Greek word graphene, which means to write. That's why it's called graphite.
So the root word is, so that's why it's called like graphic.
Yeah.
Like the word graphic is basically like a depiction of things.
It's actually rooted in Greek. Okay. That's why it's called graphite, to write.
Okay. I have a question, because Feng is a chemist, by the way.
Yeah. I'm not a practicing chemist.
He's not Walter White lah, okay?
Yeah.
But basically, I have a question on chemistry, because you pointed out that we are, after advancement, we are able to identify what is within a component, right?
Yeah.
But like you lift up something, say what is in this, you are able to find out what's in there, right?
Yeah.
Is that quantitative analysis?
To some sense, yes and no. Because chemical analysis as a whole, quantitative means you are trying to find out, as if we say quantitative. Quantitative means you want to find out how much quantity is it.
Also, like how much percentage or how much weightage is inside this thing.
Actually, if you just want to, like, let's say, find out what this thing is made of, it's actually kind of like qualitative.
Okay, so it's slightly different.
Yeah.
So it's not titration.
Types.
It's not your O-level titration.
Titration is like trying to find out the exact amount. That's quantitative analysis.
Mm-hmm.
Qualitative, basically if you remember your O-level qualitative analysis,
mm-hmm.
is basically like, remember we shake, then a color change. Then we can find out. That's qualitative.
Mm-hmm.
Quantitative is titration, because if you back calculate, you can find out the exact amount.
How much of it is hydrochloric acid?
How much? That's why it's quantity, right? Qualitative means it just tells you what is it.
So the whole smell like bleach, right? Then you know there's chlorine somewhere.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
So, but if you go higher up in in scientific training, there's a lot more tools available to you lah. Then that's when the fun part about things is that the more precise you want things to be, the bigger the instrument is gonna be.
Okay.
That's why you have like hadron colliders that takes like the whole border of between the French and Swiss border just to find out like, oh, that thing.
Yeah.
But actually, yeah, you need a huge instrument just to find out a very small thing because you need precision. That's why you need something bigger.
It's more complex.
Yeah. So that's what I learned.
And what extra bonus snippet of things to learn. All right. Now this is looking at the timestamp on the cameras, right? This is one of the longest episodes we've ever recorded.
Is it?
Yes. So if you
it is.
If you enjoyed this and you stayed with us throughout, thank you very much. If it's engaging, please tell us why, or it's just please let us know.
Yeah.
If you switch off early, and you're still listening to this, right? Then I thank you for coming back to listening to this. Yeah, thank you. Okay, and we'll come back again on Monday next week. Of course, we tend to record on Mondays and Tuesdays. Therefore, we don't have readily respond to episodes on an episode basis.
Yeah.
But thank you but of course, if you comment, we will respond. Talk to us. And thank you very much for listening to us.
All right. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.